But was it cherry or currant? Oh, please, it was clearly blackberry with a hint of mischief. I think we need another glass to decide.
This channel is about understanding wine for real.
Not memorizing fancy words.
Not pretending every bottle is mystical.
And not swallowing the wine industry's preferred story just because it sounds elegant.
We want to tell you what's actually going on in the glass.
In the cellar.
And in the market.
Why a wine tastes the way it does.
Why people talk about it the way they do.
And when the story is true.
And when it's just good marketing.
If you want wine without the fog.
You're in the right place. Wine people love talking about soil because soil sounds deep. Limestone, clay, schist, volcanic ash. The minute somebody says that stuff out loud, the room starts nodding.
Because geology sounds intelligent even when it is only half the explanation.
So here is the provocation. For Pinot Noir, coastal fog matters more than soil.
Careful, that line is useful only if you earn it immediately.
Fine. Proper version. Soil shapes expression. Climate decides whether Pinot can even get to elegance in the first place.
Better, because this is not anti-terroir. It is just anti-bad hierarchy.
Right. We are not saying dirt is fake. We are saying Pinot is such a sensitive little diva that the weather gets first vote.
Correct. Cabernet can absorb warmth and still look coherent. Pinot gets distorted much faster.
The prestige story in wine usually starts with the ground, the rock, the slope, the famous patch of dirt.
Because it gives people something tangible to worship. Point at limestone, sound profound.
And to be fair, soil does matter.
Of course it does. Drainage matters, water retention matters, nutrient balance matters, vigor matters. But for Pinot Noir, soil is often the second question, not the first.
The first question is whether the climate lets Pinot ripen slowly enough to stay precise.
Exactly. If the site runs too hot, too quickly, or too erratically, perfect soil does not save you. It just gives you a better explanation for the disappointment.
Pinot is not Cabernet. It does not want to be bossed around by heat.
No. Cabernet can use warmth. Warmth helps Cabernet build tannin, structure, and power. Pinot needs a narrower, gentler corridor.
Meaning acid retention, aromatic detail, finer texture, and a ripening curve that does not just sprint straight to sugar.
Exactly. Pinot wants development, not acceleration.
And when it gets pushed too hard,
it gets louder and less exact. Alcohol climbs, brightness falls. Fruit gets more obvious while shape gets less interesting.
So when people say Pinot is delicate, what they really mean is it shows damage early.
Better phrasing, yes. Pinot is climate-gated. Soil still matters, but climate decides whether greatness is even available.
Which brings us to fog, the most underrated cast member in California Pinot.
Fog matters because it is not just scenery. It is regulation.
That is the part I like. Fog is not vibe. Fog is function.
Correct. It suppresses peak heat, stretches hang time, slows sugar accumulation, preserves acidity, and gives flavor development time to stay aligned with ripeness.
So this is not only about keeping the wine fresher or lowering alcohol.
No, it is about synchronization. If sugar races ahead of aroma, acid, and phenolic development, the wine gets bigger before it gets better.
Fog basically keeps Pinot from panicking.
Crude, but not wrong.
This is also why the Pinot versus Cabernet contrast is so useful.
Yes, Cabernet can convert warmth into authority. Pinot often converts the same warmth into blur.
That is a nasty line.
It is also an accurate one.
Cabernet gets darker, broader, more structured. Pinot gets softer in the wrong places and heavier in the least interesting ones.
Precisely. Cabernet can turn heat into power. Pinot needs climate control to preserve precision.
So where do we actually see this working in the real world?
Sonoma Coast is the easiest California example. Marine influence, persistent fog, longer season, better acid retention, more aromatic definition.
Santa Lucia Highlands is similar in logic, but not identical in feel.
Right. Fog and wind from Monterey Bay, often with a little more structure and muscle in the wines. Different personality, same governing mechanism.
And Burgundy is where people can get confused, because Burgundy is obviously not just a fog story.
Correct. Burgundy proves the climate argument, not the coastal fog argument. Different climate package, same core truth. Pinot needs moderation.
So the real thesis is not fog or nothing.
Exactly. Fog is one especially visible form of climate control. The bigger principle is that Pinot needs a season that slows and steadies ripening.
So where does that leave all the terroir romance?
Intact, but reordered. Soil shapes expression. Climate decides whether the grape can achieve balance in the first place.
Which is a much cleaner argument than pretending soil does nothing.
Yes, because pretending soil does nothing would be stupid.
So the memorable line is, you can grow good Pinot on average soil in the right climate.
But you cannot grow great Pinot in the wrong climate on perfect soil.
That is the line people should keep.
Because it is the hierarchy that actually explains the wines.
So no, this is not anti-soil.
It is just a reminder that for Pinot Noir, the sky gets first say.
Coastal fog is not the whole story.
But it is one of the clearest ways to see the real structure of the story.
Soil shapes the wine.
Climate decides if it works.
Just right.